So I started my social media marketing agency about a month and a half ago now, and somehow in my second week, I closed my very first client on my very first sales call. Now, just to be clear, I have zero experience in SMMA. I have zero experience with sales. Never done a sales call in my life before this client. So in this video, I want to go over the top 3 things which I believe helped me the most to get me my first client so quickly. And I'm not saying that these things are 100% going to guarantee that you'll get your first client in 2 weeks, but this is just what worked for me. And I think they're good guiding posts for someone who is still trying to get their first client. By the way, I think the third tip I'm going to share is probably the fastest and easiest way for someone to get their very first client. So make sure to watch till the end. Now, for those of you who are new to this channel, I'm just using this channel to basically document my journey to financial freedom. And I just want to share the lessons that I learned along the way. So before we jump into the 3 tips, there's one important thing you should know when it comes to getting your first clients. And that is when it comes to getting a client, you're really only trying to achieve 2 things. 1 is finding intent, and 2 is building trust. So what I mean by finding intent is basically like finding people who actually want or need your service. So this can be done through things like outreach, lead generation, qualifying leads and whatnot. And the purpose of these things is to just find people who actually want to pay you for your service. Now, the second thing is building trust. Now, this is really just convincing them that, you can actually deliver on what you're promising or offering. And of course, in this video, I'm going to cover how to do both of those things as a beginner. So the first thing that's really important to understand when it comes to getting your first client is that it kind of is a numbers game, right? And the less experience you have, the more numbers you have to put in. If you've never had a client before, if you've never offered a service before, if you've never run a business before, then you do have to put in some degree of effort, and you do have to fail a little bit and get some data before you can say hey, this works, or hey, this isn't working. And so I would say that if you're just starting out, really don't expect any great results. Don't expect a bunch of high intent responses until you've sent out at least 100 outreaches. And even then, those first 100 outreaches aren't really for you to get your first clients. It's for you to learn about what's working and what's not working. And kind of on that point is you want to think of your outreach system as a funnel. And in a funnel, like a marketing funnel, you have multiple steps where you try to convert the prospect from the first step to the second step to the third step down to the bottom, right, where they finally become a client. And in a marketing funnel, if you want to have it properly optimized, then you want to make sure that you're measuring and tracking each step of the funnel. So let's say you're setting cold emails. What are the steps of the funnel? Are people actually reading and opening your message? Are people responding to your message? And then are people booking calls based on their response? And then finally, of course, are they closing as clients after you have that call with them? And this is really important, right? Because let's say you send 500 emails or 1,000 emails and you don't get a single response. You could spend all day, you could spend weeks trying to tweak that email into the perfect, most beautiful, most high converting email ever. But if you don't realize that the problem is actually people aren't even opening your email because your subject line sucks, then you're basically just wasting those 500 to 1,000 emails for no reason. And you also get zero data out of it. So you want to make sure that you are constantly not only putting the numbers in, but also making sure you're tweaking and improving your system as you go along. Now, I'm sure some of you may be wondering, sure, I get it that I need to put in a lot of reps and the numbers are really important. But Ryan, how did you close your first clients with so little efforts without doing that many outreaches? And that is true. I did not do that many outreaches to get my first client. And that is where point number 2 and 3 really come in. So the second thing, which I believe strongly contributed to me getting my first client so quickly, is my secret sales strategy. Just to be clear, it is not very secret. But honestly, this one factor is probably responsible for 90% of my sales success. If you have this one thing, I think you're basically 95% of the way to getting your first clients. And that one thing is conviction. So just to be clear, before my first sales call, which closed my first clients, I've never done sales before. I have no idea how to handle objections. I don't know these secret salesy persuasion tactics. All I had was conviction. And conviction is basically, believing in your service and that it can do what you promise it can do for your client. Because here's the thing, right? If you don't believe in your service that you're offering, if you don't believe that you can actually help your client, how are you going to convince them to believe that you can actually do it? And another thing is you don't need to have the best offer in the world. You don't need to have the best service in the world. All you're really doing when it comes to selling or building trust with a customer or a client is helping them believe that you are the person that can actually deliver on your promise. And it's not so much really what you say as much as how you say it. For example, right now, I'm speaking to you in a way where I have a little bit more conviction than someone who's just oh yeah, if you try these 3 things out, maybe you'll get a first client. I'm not sure, you should probably not trust me, try it out for yourself first. That's really low conviction, right? But in this case, I'm speaking to you in a kind of authoritative manner, right? I'm speaking to you I know what I'm talking about is at least right or useful to a certain extent. And that's how you want to come across to your prospects or your clients in your calls. So now the question is, how do you build this conviction? How can I be so certain that my service is going to help my prospect or my client? And so if you're in a position where you've never really delivered your service before, if you don't really know too much about your client's industry, or you just you really don't really know what you're doing, the number one thing you can do to build up your conviction when it comes to speaking to clients and prospects is to just build up your knowledge and expertise. You don't have to become an expert in the space, but you should at least know enough where when your client asks you a question about whatever you're doing, you should be able to confidently say yeah, this is how this works, this is how we do this, and this is how you're going to get results. And that's basically what I used, right? Over the last 2 years, I would say I've been doing e-commerce, I've been doing YouTube. And so I learned a lot of digital marketing. I learned a lot of content marketing, right? A lot of content creation skills. And these skills are the things that I'm basically providing to my clients as of now. And so when I spoke to my clients on the call, I was like, yeah, I know how this works. This has generated results for hundreds, thousands of people, of businesses, and I know if we implement the same strategies, there's a good chance that you're going to get similar results. And of course, again, if you're a beginner, you have no experience, you have no idea what you're doing, then it does take some time to actually learn this stuff. But honestly, most of the stuff you can learn, or that you need to learn, can be found in free YouTube videos. You can maybe buy 1 or 2 cheap courses. And I know some people may be thinking oh my God, 1 or 2 months, I don't have that kind of time. You have to remember that you are in the business of providing other businesses a certain service. They need a reason to go with you over just doing it themselves or hiring some random high schooler who has no idea what they're doing. Now, you may be that random high schooler who has no idea what they're doing, but the point is you have to at least have the knowledge and expertise to be one step ahead of your prospect when you are communicating with them. And the only way to stay one step ahead of your client is to have that knowledge to learn all the things you need to learn so that you can actually speak to them in the right way. And once you've built up this, library of information, of expertise, and kind of confidence to know what you're talking about, that's where the conviction really starts to build up. If you think about it, the things I'm talking to you about right now are things that I'm only one step ahead of you in. I've only gotten my first client a few weeks ago, really just been reading a bunch of stuff about business, watching a bunch of YouTube videos about business. And so the only reason I'm able to kind of speak to you in this way to teach you about these things is because I've spent more time on it than you have. That's really it, right? I have more information than you do. And I guess if there was one more thing that really helps me here is just to have some level of basic marketing skills. And what I mean by that is to really focus on what does your prospect or client want? What are their pain points? What are their needs? Not, what do you do? Not who you are. No one gives a shit about your agency, right? They care about what problem can you solve for them. And so when you speak to them on a sales call, you always want to be talking about, what matters to them? What are their pain points? What do they care about? So now we've solved the second half of the equation, which is building trust. And that leaves us with the first half, which is finding intent. As I'm sure you know, finding intent is pretty hard, right? Doing outreach, lead generation, qualifying leads. This is pretty hard stuff for someone who has no idea what they're doing, and it can be really time consuming or cost a lot of money depending on what method you're using. And so the third strategy I'm about to share is probably what I think is the easiest and fastest way for a beginner who has never done any of this before to get their very first clients in the shortest amount of time possible. Now, before I share it, if you like what you're seeing, hearing, watching, click subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this. If not, we'll keep going anyway. So the third strategy, which really helped me get my first clients in such a short time, is focusing on warm traffic. So when it comes to marketing, there are kind of 3 types of traffic. One is cold traffic, which is basically people who have never seen your ad or seen your business before. There's warm traffic, people who have intent, they've expressed interest or intent in your business. And if you want to take it a level further, there's hot traffic, which is basically people who are really ready to buy and they're just they just need that one little tip to take them over the edge and spend their money with you. Now, of course, when it comes to getting your first clients, you're not really going to have any hot traffic, right? You're not going to really have people lining up at your door waiting to give you their money because you really haven't built up any brand and you haven't really engaged with any of these prospects before. So that leaves us with cold traffic and warm traffic. The cold traffic is, basically your standard outreach systems, right? Messaging people on Instagram and Facebook, sending cold emails, cold calling people. Those are all forms of acquiring cold traffic. So how about warm traffic? How do we find people that are already expressing intent to pay for our service or our offer? So there are actually a few places online you can actually find people with warm intent without actually building a brand, without having having experience or case studies or anything. These are people that you can just look up right now and instantly get in touch with them and try to get them to work with you. And the first place you can find these people is on Upwork. Now, before I continue, there's one thing you need to know about warm traffic, and that is warm traffic comes at a cost. For example, when it comes to paid ads, well, you have to pay for the ads, right? When it comes to building a brand, this costs time and effort and money to actually, make YouTube videos or to post stuff on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn or Twitter. So usually warm traffic comes at a cost in some way, shape, or form. And that applies in the methods that I'm about to tell you. These methods are much cheaper than your other sources of warm traffic. So back to Upwork. This is as warm as you're going to get for someone who you've never interacted with before. These are people who are literally looking for your service, typing out job postings and saying, hey, can someone help me with a service? I'm willing to pay them. And so really the only thing you have to do here is put yourself in front of them, in front of the job posting, and be like, hey, I'm the guy that can offer the service that you're looking for, so you should pay me. Guys, it doesn't really get warmer than that. Like if you're someone with no experience, no case studies, or really anything to leverage to get clients, then Upwork is the easiest way to get someone who wants to pay for your service. So what's the cost of using Upwork? Because of course, all warm traffic has a cost. So the first thing is, well, you have to pay to actually apply to Upwork jobs, but the cost is really low, like less than $1 per application. And honestly, it's not even something I really worry about. But the second cost is that the clients you usually find on these platforms are much lower ticket. So I'm not saying it's like impossible to find, like clients that pay you 3 to 5 to 10K per month, but it's very, very unlikely. What you'll usually find is people who are willing to pay you like 500 to 1,000, maybe like 1,500 per month for your service, depending on what you're offering, which is still pretty amazing considering it's your very first client. Now, besides Upwork, what other sources of warm traffic are there? Well, one other big one that's pretty cost efficient, I would say, is to join communities where people are actually looking for your service. And the most common place to find these groups is Facebook. Like there's pretty much a Facebook group for anything and everything these days. And what you want to look for here are groups that offer help to people who are looking for help with a specific service or problem. Or let's say you're offering in your agency Facebook ads for e-commerce businesses, which is what everyone is doing these days. Well, let's say that's what your offer is. What you want to do is you want to find Facebook groups where the Facebook group is basically like helping e-commerce business owners with Facebook ads. So the Facebook group will be called something like Facebook ads for e-commerce business owners, right? And these groups will either be, public or private. And what you want to do is join these groups and basically start messaging people, adding people as friends. Don't just post like, hey, does anybody need help with their Facebook ads? Because that's how you get banned from these groups. What you want to do instead is, offer value in the comments, connect with people and be like, hey, I do this for e-commerce business owners. Like, do you need help? Or do you want any advice? I can help you out with this and that for free or whatever. And just really get to know people, talk with people. And eventually you might connect with 1 or 2 people who are actually like willing to pay for a service to help them with their Facebook ads. I would say that this method is a little bit difficult when it comes to just, finding like public and private Facebook groups. But if you want to take this up a notch, then what you can do is actually pay for, courses that offer certain online communities, right? A lot of courses these days offer like Facebook groups, Discord communities, like Discord servers, or some will even have like their own custom platform for people to interact, like for students to interact. And what you can do is, actually pay for these courses and join these online communities. Because let's say you're paying for a course that's teaching e-commerce business owners how to do their Facebook ads. And let's say that community has like 1,000 students in it. Once you're in that community, you basically have access to like 1,000 warm leads who are like looking for someone or looking to improve their Facebook ads for the e-commerce business. And obviously not all of them are going to be successful in running their own ads. So you can be like, hey, I'm really good at Facebook ads. I offer the service. Do you need help with this? And really just do the same strategy as before, just offering value and connecting with people inside the group. And the reason that these paid groups are much better than like the free ones is because these people are literally willing to pay hundreds of dollars to learn a skill for their business. And that is the same skill that you can offer to them as a service with your agency, right? So these are very, very warm leads who are willing to spend money on your service, which is great. But again, of course, warm traffic comes at a cost. And of course, you have to pay for the actual course to get into the group. I would honestly pay like a few $100 to get into a group of like hundreds of people who are looking for my service, right? I'm just not at the stage yet because I'm using Upwork, but that's just up to you. So now we have both sides of the equation filled. And if you focus just on these 2 things, or 3 things, finding warm leads through sources like Upwork and Facebook groups, and building conviction by leveling up your knowledge and your expertise and your confidence and just putting your offer out there more and more, I can guarantee that you are well on your way to closing your first client, just like me. Because honestly, guys, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I've never done a sales call in my life. Even to this day, I'm still getting sales calls on the regular. I'm still getting very good interest on the sales calls. And that I think is very much due to the things that I've pretty much taught you in this video. I don't think there's really anything else that has contributed to my success so far. It's really just knowing what I'm talking about and being in the right place in front of the right people and just talking to them and putting my offer in front of them. If you found this video helpful and you want to see more content like it, leave a like, leave a sub, and I'll see you in the next video.